Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call for October 19th, 2021. We're here on Cathy's website, CathyDSlaght.com. To access the Zoom call, we will scroll down the website, look for the Zoom banner, and click here. This will take us over to the Zoom platform where I will authorize the app, and the call will be live.
Apparently, that's all we knew. I got a call last night from her daughter who was in the hospital with her. Let me tell you, Karen, it's been several years ago now. Kevin remembers this, I know. She had gone out to California with her husband on a business trip, and they were in an RV, and they were in the woods, and these fires started. And of course, none of us knew anything was going on until I got a call from her husband saying she was in the hospital and she was dying. And of course, we all, the SRC group, everybody that could get involved, started praying and sending energy. And she was in the hospital for about, I'd say, 2 weeks. They never found what had happened to her. But the SRC said very clearly it was radiation poisoning. And let me tell you about Karen. Karen has some of the most sensitive energy you'll ever see. And it's very possible in those wooded areas where the fires were going on, a lot of those corporations dumped stuff. And it looked like the radiation had been released and it hit her. I think what really saved her life, of course, we were all working and praying, but what I think really saved her life, her 2 daughters came and sat with her. And I think that pulled her around. They sat with her in the hospital till she got well. And the other thing I didn't know, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but when you're very sick in the hospital, too sick to feed yourself, out there at least, nobody fed her. They would set her food down. And when they would come back, if her tray was still there where it was with nothing eaten, they just took her tray. I didn't know that, but her daughters got there and started feeding her, helping her, lifted her spirits, etc. But when she got back, she went in to see her doctor, and he had the funniest look on his face. He said, I thought 15 minutes or so before you got here, I'd read the report that the hospital had emailed. The report is 400 pages, and they could never figure out what was wrong with her. I am wondering, based on some of the work I've been doing with her, that perhaps that radiation stress is popping up again. So anything you can do, any prayers you can make, etc.
Yeah, and that would be something really easy to get triggered again because there's so much out there. Because my thyroid stuff, I had that back in the late 70s, and it was total related to radiation stuff. And so I can identify.
Yep, and of course, she also lost her husband a year ago, and that is, nice. Something you never really get over, and it still is very hard. So please send your prayers.
Yeah. Does she have the bracelet?
Yes.
The quantum bracelet, she does.
Yes.
Because the bracelet, isn't that what it's supposed to be doing for us? Is keeping that radiation away from our cells and stuff?
It is. And I didn't ask her if she's wearing it all the time.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes it takes more than the bracelet.
That's true.
I had a client come by yesterday, and she was so shocked. She said, over this apartment, it is covered with chemtrails, and she came from out on the beach, no chemtrails. But you'll see if you look up these chemtrails in different spots, and it could very well be something like that would trigger over and above. You might want to do your own research on the 20 mule team borax, which is actually a way to get some boron in your system. They say you could take 3 glasses of water a day throughout the day with just a little pinch. I've got myself doing 1 because I still can't quite comprehend taking laundry detergent, even though it's boron. I know it's boron, and yes, those who did the scale, they saw that very often we were deficient in boron. So you might just want to do your own research on that and see what you decide to do. Meanwhile, tomorrow we do start our work for Marty, and I will send another note out today.
Mm-hmm.
I think what the group consensus is so far, from the ones I've heard from, people prefer to do it on Wednesdays. They don't mind watching the Zoom as far as an image, the toner, the timer, and doing that for 10 minutes. And then the other days, they'll do it on their own. I think I'm going to go ahead at 11 every day and put the thing up and do it. And anyone who is so inspired to come in and join can. But it's funny. I'm reading a book called It Is All Right, way back in the 70s. And do you know, she's talking about this same group work. It's quite interesting.
Wow.
So Lynn McTaggart must have referenced this somewhere and then decided to proceed it scientifically. But it is in that book. And the funny thing also in that book, she's talking about those times just like we would talk about these times now. And like I said before, if we'd had internet back then, we'd probably say, oh my goodness, we're never going to make it through this. But we did, didn't we?
Yeah, oh, sure. Yes.
So anyway, speaking of making it through this, we are still running from yesterday. I turned it off to do some additional scans. But I think that, yes?
I was just going to add one thing, talking about Karen.
Yes.
Because I know she lives in Florida. I live in Florida. We have just amazing chemtrails around here lately. So
yes.
I was going to suggest, in fact, I did a little prayer this morning when I was out with my dog to Archangel, Jesus, the one that transforms everything, Saint Germain. Saint Germain.
Oh, yes.
Not to forget Saint Germain. And I usually pray to Archangel Michael when I see the chemtrails and ask him to transform everything into light. But this morning, Saint Germain popped in my head, and I'm like, well, duh, he's the alchemist, and he can transform anything into anything. So anyway, just a thought, when you see him, and even if you don't see them, there's so much stuff happening in the universe that a little alchemy, changing darkness to light, would be good.
Yes, it would. Thank you.
Can I add one thing to what Sharon just shared? And I know you want to get going on this.
No, this is good. This is what we want.
There's a really neat website called Crow 777. It's CRROW 777, and a direct relative of Saint Germain doesn't.
A second. I'm sorry. I want to write it down, Annie. Hold on a second.
Okay.
So we have it.
And just to give you guys confirmation on all of this, I'm getting goosebumps on top of goosebumps.
Yeah. So it's actually CRROW 777.
Thank you.
I think it was 322, but I can't remember what the number of the session was. It's absolutely fantastic, Sharon.
Is this a website?
Yeah, Crow 777 is a fantastic website. They're the best.
And what is it? Possibly session what?
And I think it might be possibly session 320, either 322, 324. I can't remember. It's in the peripheral of my mind. Anyway, Sharon, it is a relative of Saint Germain. It's absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
Fabulous.
And
yeah.
If you pay $7 a month, then you actually get to listen to the second hour, which is even more in depth. But
wow.
It's a fantastic website. They're from a healthcare perspective. Everything.
Wow. Thank you.
Crazy. But the Saint Germain part is way cool.
Thank you.
Is that crow777radio.com?
Probably.
CRROW777radio.com.
Okay, so it's radio in there.
Oh, is there a radio in there? Okay.
Yeah, I always get partial.
Oh, what was the last part?
And I'll send this out to crow777radio.com, and there looks like he has a bunch of sessions. This is an active site. This is good. So anyway, that's what we want to do. All this other, you guys pretty much know. This dialogue is what we need. I went ahead and did another little scan just to see if there's anything extra. I know we're still running, but is there anything extra we could use? And this oxidative stress for the group right now is up at the top. And so we realize this is subtle. It's looking at the blueprint, which is a reminder this work is majorly proactive. So let's just go ahead. It gives us a thought to look at what we're eating. We're going to get into the acidity today, which might be. And we are still looking for the MMS through the sustenance balancer. So let's just go ahead and get that started. And you might want to test yourself to see if you want to order that as well. Let's see what we've got here. Dermatome, yin heel, large intestine meridians, gallbladder, and neck. And you see a real high issue on the graph. You can always go in here. We're not asking for the recharger today. You might want to ask recharger large intestine and see, is that a priority today? Is it a good thing, in other words? No, we don't need that. This information is what we need. I added this one. I didn't have this one in. Of course, I can't spell half the time, but this 12 divine fleeting laws we want. So let's go ahead and open up, and I need to make that Excel sheet bigger. I just realized too. I don't know. I mean, this probably will have to be cleaned up. All I did was copy it. The laws of consciousness, the Pleiadian divine laws of manifestation. And I'm just going to copy all of these, and I'll send them out today. But we're going to make a cocktail of it, because so often people are asking for this cocktail. And remember, it's going in to the etheric field, which is our blueprint. So let's just go in here and go down to save as cocktail. And just leave that right now as it is. And let's go down here and add this now. We're wanting the she motion. You can see there again is that oxidative stress. So it's good to be aware of that stress, so we can do something about it. Again, amp that up, but this is going to require some other changes. Align all levels of consciousness. Dows, and then this planetary has been coming up just almost for every session, and now it's come up for the group. So we'll look at that. Let's just pull up this. Do I have this Dows up? Here we go.
I see you know Dave Cohen too, huh?
What's that?
I just saw Dave Cohen's name on there.
Yeah, that's his list. That's from his book, Dowsing Beyond Duality, I believe, is the book.
Yeah, Dowsing Beyond Reality is right.
Yeah, he was such a teacher. Such a wonderful teacher.
I was so sad when I heard that he passed away.
Yeah, it was a terrible shock. Of course, you know, we're in a death culture, but they say there is no death. He's working on the other side. Okay. This is interesting. This is something he had in there, overcloaked by spiritual entities from the oneness movement in the spirit world. And so that takes up interpretation, I guess, at some point. But for now, better douse that up. Probably could put that in the, well, we're still going. Well,
I got something interesting. We're talking about boron, so I got the number and put it in for my brother that has COVID. He's taken 20 hours.
oh boy.
Must help.
Oops. Wow. This would be, of course, there is technically no negative because we learn from these things as well, but let's just, well, that's a significant. We're asking, as you can see here, for the issue solver and the QiGong panel. Let's see if we can. And my apologies, I did not need to make this a little bigger so we can see it. So let's look at this planetary cocktail because so many of these sessions are now asking for it. Let's see what our specifics are. And, you know, you can go to the and filter it down. Doesn't look too bad. Love between all members of the human race. Restoration of law and order in our nation's cities. Heal DNA, pursue the truth, clear social programming. We're probably going to have to dig a little deeper into this heavy metal situation. Remove heavy metals from the midline brain. Of this, bring in an ideal world. Stop the escalation of violence. Alternatives to YouTube. Intuitive guidance, discernment, work together, eliminate the possibility of World War III, win the information war, free from oppression, Archangel Ariel, Archangel Metatron. You can look these up, you know, and give you an idea, because remember, these just represent energy vibrations, as they say. In pain and misery, block the creation of chaos, and lift the world to its ideal. So that doesn't, well, shoot. little trouble with that sometimes. Do I need to never remember to have that? And then we had a couple of other things. I think, yeah, I think that covers it for here. Let's go down to the very end. Personal. Oh. A couple of things. This is rather interesting too. We've been working, I don't know if you remember this. This had been this quote by Norman Cousins. You see, we're just down to an 8. I'm doing this like once a day or twice a day. But this was his comment we wanted to clear. We are becoming a nation of sissies and hypochondriacs, a self-medicating society, easily intimidated by pain and prone to panic. We understand almost nothing about the essential robustness of the human body or its ability to meet the challenges of illness. So we're going real slow. This is deeply, apparently programmed in. We're just down to an 8. And like I say, I'm not hammering it, just doing it gently. Let's see if we're ready to clear down to that level. Then we've got this restore DNA function, which we're now ready to go into the supercharger with. Okay, 2 hours. And I think we have, yeah, we also want the expanded miracle of God. And might be interesting. What if we just added those 2 things in? Let's go ahead and calibrate. Just for the heck of it, let's see what comes up. Peeling away the resistance. Let's see, wind. See, there's that pH, which is what we're going in and look, it's our emotions setting that off. Meridians and points. Disconnection from the divine. If it's true what the scientists are finding, that we're in the midst of this sea of information and we get disconnected from it, that doesn't sound so good. You know, a lot of stress related to the knees pop up. A lot of stress related to the pineal. Why don't we just add all that stuff? Come back to that. And then the only other thing in reference to the what we were talking about is we're making maybe this significant cocktail in reference to the pancreas, which is vital, and that's one of the organs you just can't, you know, can remove a few other organs. This is not one of them, and it's producing. Its idea, among other things, is to neutralize stomach acid. We have the food coming in from the stomach. It's extremely acidic, which is necessary, but then it has to be alkalized, and the pancreas is producing what we need to do that. It's actually protein, but the proteins are digestive enzymes. So here we go with you know, a few codes if you find them helpful. We have an excellent cocktail already in reference to this. We could just see, let's look at the intestines also. That needs to be neutralized, that acidity. Let's see how we look as a group. Not bad. And many people, according to what you'll read, it's actually the problem they have is their pancreas, and they don't know it's hidden. There's no way to find it, and very often it's tied in with the acidity. Here's a little example of what could be causing the acidity. We'll just look as a group. Consumption of acidifying food, that would be a big one. That's the main thing for the group. I scanned for me last night, and it was my microbiome, so I'm going to have to start taking that stuff that's been sitting here. And that was the other thing. Let's just look at this again for the group.
What about fulvic acid? Is that has that ever come up on any of the scans?
I know it hasn't come up, but it sure, I've got it in the sustenance balancer. It is invaluable. And because it's such a detoxer. Now see, look here as a group, the balance, the pancreatic energy center, 21 hours. That might not be a bad thing to check for yourself. It's funny, I had a couple of people yesterday that had different digestive issues. So I put that in there for them, and it was like they wanted minutes. So then I put it in for me, and I wanted 8 hours. And so I'm like, okay. But that fulvic acid, you might want to do some research on that. That is huge for clearing out toxicity, and that includes the toxicity of pathogens. Let's see if there's anything else down here.
Cathy,
Yeah.
did you say folic acid or fulvic acid?
Yeah, FULVIC.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah. I think that's it as far as our new information. We have a great cocktail in here for enzymes. Let's just go ahead and load it anyway. Go down here.
Hey, Cathy, when you went over that list a minute ago,
Yes.
that the divine law, one of them said something about free will. What is that all about?
Let me look again.
You went too fast, so I couldn't read that.
Yeah, and I'm going to send it. You'll have this list to look at, but let's just look real quickly.
Oops.
This is a big bunch of.
How did I lose the Zoom?
Is anybody else able to see?
I cannot. Well, I'm going to get out of here. Oh, wait, I have to go back in again.
Oh, my. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Here we have, first of all, the law of consciousness. We know that that's the whole deal. And consciousness is actually, they say, our voltage. So the higher that goes, the higher the consciousness. It says consciousness is eternal. It cannot be created or destroyed, only transmuted. All things are interconnected. We, of course, very familiar with the law of vibration. Rhythm and cycles, again, I think we're familiar with that. You can't have good without a little bad to teach you a few lessons. The law of sovereignty. This is probably where the free will, we're intended to have free will. And when you look at some of the things that happen to people and you say, well, hold on a second, they never got a chance to exercise their free will. It just happened. We don't know in other dimensions, in other lives, what we've been up to. So I don't know how to put this into any other terms, but just this idea of free will can be a challenge.
Yes, the reason why I saw it there, it's that law of free will somewhere. But anyway, the thing was that this lady called me this morning, and she was telling me that going back to the Old Testament and so forth, and then when in the pre-existence, when Satan said that he will bring everyone back to their Father, and that nobody would have free will. That everybody would have to go back, and he would guarantee that. And then Jesus Christ said, no, that's not the way it's going to be. People will have free will. Well, she's taken that on now as the vaccine, because now she's going to have to take the vaccine in order to go see her mother in Colombia. So therefore, she said that my free will is taken away. In that sense, isn't that what I want? It's what I have to do because of this law. And then she puts that onto Satan, of course. She says that Satan is behind all of this. So it was interesting after I saw this here, the law of free will, that brought back with her conversation this morning.
Yeah, we can look at it that way, that they're taking the jobs, they're taking travel, etc. if you don't get this. But we still have free will to say, you know what, okay, then I'm not going.
Right, right.
And so, but other things, it gets complicated with this free will. For example, are we making a deal on the other side? Did we all come in, say, okay, we'll come back at this time to play a part in this? Or are we playing some kind of big reality game? Is that why we like to watch reality shows? Because we're playing one too. And, they say those who have been and come back, that, yeah, you plan the whole deal, and then you come and you forget what you agreed to. And so, it's like playing golf. If you got a hole in one every time you played, you wouldn't want to play. What if we are playing a game? That's what the Cathars talked about. If you ever can find any material on the Cathars, it's really interesting. The Cathars were as active as the Catholic Church up until about the 1300s. And what they taught was opposite of the Catholic Church. They taught that everything's energy and that Satan was actually matter. And so therefore, you didn't want to accumulate a whole bunch of matter in the form of which the Catholic Church was definitely accumulating lots of money. They lived pretty normal lives, except they had missionaries called perfecti that traveled from city to city and taught the poor how to make leather goods so they could earn a living. It's quite interesting. And the Cathar, that religion, whatever you want to call it, was growing as fast as the Catholic Church. And they were all about energy. And they claimed to have walked with Jesus. So what happened, the Catholic Church, the consciousness of the planet was much lower. Catholic Church said to all who would join an army and fight to kill the Cathars, their sins and their debts would be forgiven. And the Cathars were wiped out. And it's fascinating reading. There are a few started back in Europe, but I don't think any of that activity in this country. But this is kind of the thing they taught. And this is what, in reference to this, they're referring to our universal computer code. Of course, apparently we work processing all this code. And the fork in the road is you can do what you want if it comes from love. And you can do what you want if it doesn't come from love. Why? Because this is a free will universe.
And can I contribute?
And so anyway, lots to think about. It gets kind of heavy.
And can I contribute on that?
Yeah.
On that book, God's Creative Power, it says here that for my word has not lost its power just because it has been spoken once. It is still equally as powerful today as when I said, let there be light. But for my word to be effective, key word here, for my word to be effective, men must speak it, and that creative power will come forth performing that which is spoken in faith. And there's more, but it's on page 18 and 19. And remember what Jesus said, and I'm taking it out of context. What I can do, you can do, and more. So with that, remember Dr. Emoto with the Water Project and how he basically changed the structure of the water by speaking to it. So regardless, and this is just my opinion, whoever takes this tube with whatever's in it, regardless whether they have or haven't, how about we consider that we can change the structure with prayer? Just throwing that out there.
No, good thought. I feel myself like that, but I think it is going to take some energy work, some frequency for those who choose to do it, and many are not going to make that choice.
I think fear certainly plays a huge part in that. Number one, they're afraid, especially if they're basically forced. And where they're hitting people now is in their pocketbook. I had a call from my brother last night, and his company is requiring them to have both shots by a certain date. And if they don't, they have to take the PCR test every week, and they have to pay for it $150 a week. And then my sister-in-law, who works for a different organization, is required to take it. And if she doesn't have both of them, they're going to penalize her $200 a week.
Tyranny.
That's a lot of damn money for people that, you know, that work. I mean, so they figured out another way to increase the fear quotient in the population, and so we have to figure out a way how to make that all work.
Yeah, I think we could do much of this if we start getting small groups together in our own homes or virtually, whichever is best, and do this Hour of 8 type work like we're going to start tomorrow. I think that this may be a lesson that comes from all this pain. And not to judge anybody for whether they took this jab or not. It's hard for me to understand personally why people don't research it. Of course, now you have to struggle to get the information. This started back in the 61s. The CIA coined the term conspiracy theorist, I think, in preparation for things like this, to where if you speak up, you're labeled a nut. And so we have to get past a few things, but that I think this is the time for us to learn what we really are capable of. And according to Lynn McTaggart, she said that's what Jesus was really teaching. Lynn's coming at this not from a Christian. She's I don't know what she is, but she's a pure scientist. But she says that's what Jesus was really teaching, was this power of group prayer, not churches with big walls that you put all your money into, but the power of groups and working together with prayer. And what you read, of course, none of us were there, not that we know of anyway, but apparently with what he taught his disciples, that was the whole deal. He said, you're going to do a lot more than I've done. And it was in reference to coming together with prayer. And at the same time, with all these things happening, that's when the Romans said, we better make this a religion, because if these people know what they're capable of, we can't rule them. We can't tap their resources. We're the generators. So whatever as a collective we decide is going to happen is what happens, which may be why they're pouring out all this fear, because we will make it happen. It might even be, which may sound like I'm a heretic, and I probably am, what about all that talk in Revelations about the end of times? Could that have been influenced so we could create it? Could there have been another influence in that writing and the true writing not be available to us?
Very good possibility.
Yeah.
It's at least possible.
Yeah. Because
we know that there's a lot of work out there that was removed, according to what Greg Braden talks about when Constantine made some of the decisions. 45 books were removed from the Bible, and those books talked about reincarnation. We talk about the division between the Eastern and Western as far as the web of energy. Apparently those books talked about this web of energy, and a bunch of those books were written by women. That was all taken out. So, I guess that's why I keep saying the more I learn, the less I know. Just all things to think about. Anything else?
All good thoughts.
I wanted to share, but I didn't know where to add this. But I was listening to Jennifer Van Allen last night, and I sent you and Marty the link to it. And she talks about the black salve or slave. I don't know how you pronounce it. And there was 4 herbs that create it. And she says for it to work, you have to honor the herbs. And I was like, when she mentioned the herbs, this light bulb went off in my head. What if we can create an SRC cocktail for the slave with the 4 herbs and honoring them and
For the slave?
yeah.
No, it's salve. It's black
salve.
salve.
Oh,
Black
okay.
salve.
Thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know how to pronounce it, but
Yeah, okay.
and I just I wanted to throw that out there. So I'm gonna get the information today because I'm gonna go back and re-listen to the video and yeah, I just thought that was very fascinating.
There's so much about the herbs. I'm still working on that, 1,000 plants to heal cancer book, which is fascinating also. But yeah, and even if we could just start having a few herbs, the next time you're at the health food store, grab a little pot of herbs. They've got them all over. Start adding things to your meals. There's so much we can do. So anyway, I guess that's it for now. I'm going to send out a note to, I think our Power of 8 group, it's actually Power of 10. And I'll send that out, and then we'll go forward.
Well, that'll be good in case somebody misses a call. You'll still have to wait.
Well, that's the other thing. All the time in our work, it comes up to clear false guilt. And I would say we're not going to have time, probably some of us, every day to do this. Don't beat yourself up. Do it when you can. We're going to go in at 11, and we know on Wednesdays we're going to make every attempt to come in. But then those other days, put it in your schedule. If you can't do it, don't beat yourself up. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Kathy, do you have me on your list?
Do I have? Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So tomorrow.
If anybody else hasn't said anything, please let me know.
Kathy,
Yeah.
is tomorrow going to be at 10 o'clock?
Yeah. No, we'll do our normal Zoom. Go out of the Zoom, and then we'll come back in at 11. And Joanna, I'll ask you now instead of calling you later. Could we get you to run that Zoom and put that Reiki chant up there?
Ask
Yeah,
that
let me
again.
know because
Do that, because I have trouble getting that big screen up along with the Zoom.
Run that by me again.
And we don't need, to have our pictures up there, or faces or anything. I'm just thinking of a way if we can listen to this Reiki, which is, by the way, the #1 symbol in Reiki, and it's to power people up. That's why she chose that one.
I didn't hear the question.
Tomorrow, I have an appointment tomorrow, so I might not be able to make it.
Right. There's going to be days that people can't do it, and we don't want any false guilt. We do the best we can, and we can all send good thoughts. And please don't forget Karen while you're doing this.
Yeah, because I'm going to be a part of it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we can't control every day, but we can do the best we can. I do think there is great power. I'm going to start a real life group as well. There's a place, a center out on Isla del Sol that some of us are going to get together as well. And I encourage you, if you're up to it, start a group where you are, and let's pray for people who are going through these things, and all come together and use these gifts we came in with, because they're there. They may be dormant, but they're there.
And I want to give an update on the website.
Okay, well, I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Oh, can I give
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Thanks, Kathy. Great call,
Have a
Kathy.
good day.
Bye.
Enjoy.
Forget to send me the
These were the links that were brought up in the SRC4u session. 1,000 plants to cure cancer. I'm not sure how to pull that up. I couldn't find that one, so we'll add that in the comments below the video. Lynn McTaggart, I don't know if that is the book that they were referencing. Intention Experiment. Dowsing Beyond Duality, Access Your Power. Okay. And then the Crow, CRROW777. This is the actual website. Down here at the bottom is the social media, and if you go to the YouTube, you'll be able to see all of Crow's videos. And we'll just go right here to videos. And all the videos he has made is right here, and you can choose which ones from there you want to watch. And that's it. This concludes the SRC4u Zoom call for October 19th, 2021. Thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you again. Till then, take care and be well.